The case for the ontology of money as credit. Money as bearer or basis of value. By Phil Armstrong and Kalim Siddiqui. The State Theory of Money. Ingham 2004a discusses the Methodenstreit and the division of opinion between the German historical school and the Austrian school and its heirs in Anglo-American neoclassicism. The later conceptualized money's origins and development as a commodity in market exchange, whereas the latter instead saw money as a means of accounting for and settling debts, and regarded an approach to analyzing money without a foundational role for the state as absurd. In The State Theory of Money, 1924, Knapp argues that it is the state that decides on the unit of account and the money things that are to be used in settlement of debts denominated in this unit. Initially, the unit of account may be a weight of precious metal of given fineness. However, the state may choose to change the unit to a different metal by decree. Thus, the choice of unit is in the hands of the state, rather than springing from a process involving individuals searching for the most efficient way of reducing the costs of barter. If the state decided that a different metal was to be used as a standard of value, then it held the power to change the unit of account. Knapp, 1924. Knapp analyzes the process of monetary development from the starting point of a monetary unit expressed as a weight of metal of given fineness. The use of stamped coins whose weight determines value is seen as a later development. This point is highlighted by Davies, 2002. A further and final stage widespread in the modern world was reached when the coins were given a nominal value by the authorities, not based upon weight or precious metal content. Knapp, 1924. The state has the power to choose the money things, that is, what may be used to settle debts in the designated unit of account. Knapp, 1924. In modern monetary systems, proclamation is always supreme. Knapp, 1924. The role of the state is dominant in each of the stages. The state decides the timings, not individuals maximizing expected utility. The state is not a late arrival on the scene, hijacking a monetary system, which is progressing efficiently, driven by optimizing its initiatives. The state is not a late arrival on the scene, hijacking a monetary system which is progressing efficiently, driven by optimizing incentives for its own purposes. Rather, it always directs the process for good or ill. Footnote 11. Although it is the state that decides upon the unit of account, the private sector is able to issue its own debt denominated in this unit. Armstrong, 2015. End footnote. As we noted above, once the unit is chosen, it may continue to be defined historically as a particular weight of metal of given fineness. However, over time, its nominal value would change in relation to the metal which underpinned its original definition. Knapp, 1924. The state theory of money shows how ancient authorities would use their power to move resources from the private sector to themselves. Control of the monetary system provides a highly effective means for this aim to be achieved. Siddiqui and Armstrong, 2018. By way of illustration, we suggest a highly stylized story based upon the use of stamped metal might go as follows. A ruler might decide what she desires, for example, palaces, amphitheaters, and an army of conquest. She could utilize her monopoly power over the monetary system to obtain what she desires. She would first define the unit of account, and then decide upon the money things acceptable in payment of debts denominated in this unit, say, stamped metal discs, clearly marked with her head. The disc may contain precious metal. This precious metal content if any, would be decided upon by the state, the mint standard. The use of precious metal may help prevent counterfeiting and raise the prestige of the issuer, but the intrinsic value of the coins provides only a floor value for the currency. The nominal value would be higher and determined by decree. She would then impose a tax on her or his subjects denominated in its chosen standard, payable by the surrender of the stamped discs. The ruler decides the nominal value of the coins and how many each person must pay to satisfy their tax bill. This process gives the coins value. They are tokens showing the holder had a credit on the state. They are really tax credits. The ruler can now spend these tokens on whatever she wishes as long as it is available in her own domain or monetary space. The private sector suppliers of goods accept the tokens, not because they are made of precious metal, but rather because the population needs them to pay taxes. The ruler then pays her soldiers with the stamped metal discs, and the soldiers, in turn, are able to go to the villages and buy whatever they wish, provided it is available. The populace sells the soldiers real goods to obtain the discs to meet tax liabilities. Clearly, the empress has to spend before she can collect. Any private agent minting discs with the ruler's head on without her permission in order to enrich themselves might be expected to face severe punishment. Thus, a ruler does not need to raise taxation revenue before spending. The imposition of the tax liability comes first, followed by the spending of the currency which is required to settle it. Logically and practically, the emission of state money is anterior to its collection. From this perspective, following the logic of Knapp's approach, taxation serves not to fund spending as is mistakenly believed by most economists and nearly all the population, but to create a demand for the currency and to reduce the spending capacity of the private sector. If the private sector is spending less, its command of resources is correspondingly lowered, allowing the state room to spend without causing inflation. Thus, the state's ability to impose and collect taxes enables it to act as a currency issuer within its sovereign monetary space and transfer resources from the private sector to itself. The ultimate value of a tax-driven currency is determined by the amount of effort required by the issuer in order to obtain it. The significance of the power of the state is noted succinctly by Knapp. Quote, "Within a state, the validity of the kinds of money is not a trade phenomenon, but rests on authority." Knapp, 1924. However, what if the state wishes to obtain goods and services from outside this space, from a foreign country? Clearly, it cannot levy a tax on foreign independent nations, so it becomes a currency user with respect to that country's currency. It must obtain that nation's currency to make the purchase or find a foreign producer prepared to accept its own currency. Knapp notes that the amount of foreign currency that may be obtained for each unit of domestic currency is not subject to the control of the authorities. Rather, it is the result of action of buyers and sellers on the foreign exchange market, or bourse. Knapp, 1924.